See, Merry Christmas, my paisano. This is your old pal, Super RJ. And I hope you guys have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you guys enjoy the food, enjoying the presents you got, and of course, enjoying your family. And to all you guys don't celebrate Christmas, I'd say Happy Holidays to all of you. And since this is my Chris 2018 Christmas video, I decided to review a recent Christmas animated movie that came out last month, and that is the 2018 Universal's The Grinch animated movie. Now, let me first off by saying that I love The Grinch, guys. Aside from Jack Skellington being my favorite Christmas and Halloween icon, The Grinch is also my second favorite holiday icon ever. I always enjoy watching him and when he's on his Chuck Jones animated special, reading the original book by Dr. Seuss himself, and of course watching the 2000 Jim Carrey movie. And yes, I actually do like the 2000 Jim Carrey movie because I actually do really enjoy it. I'm not saying it's better than the Chuck Jones short, but you get the idea. So when I heard that Universal announced they're doing an animated reboot of The Grinch, I have to ask, why do we need another Grinch movie? And most notably, it's gonna be made by Illumination. Now, first off, we already got the Chuck Jones cartoon from the 1960s, and we got the one with Jim Carrey in 2000, the live action one. But why on earth do we need an animated movie on the Grinch? And the thing about Illumination, well, here's the thing: Illumination is not a great animated company, and people I'm pretty sure understand why they're not the greatest. They're not the true next Pixar. But to me, some of their films are just okay and mediocre. But the one movie that I do say is the worst Illumination movie that they made was the Lorax. Lorax, you know, the first film that Illumination made based on a Dr. Seuss book. But since this movie now is shown in theaters, do I think this movie actually is good? Or I say still stick to the Jim Carrey movie because at least that one is entertaining. Well, let's find out. Now, the plot of the movie is basically like the plot of the book, so yeah, you know the drill. So, I will say, the way how the Illumination tell this story on their take of the Grinch, I have to say they actually did it nicely well. I just like the way how the movie satirized how we all know from the original book, from the Grinch being his usual grumpy self, and I like the way how he does some ways trying to steal Christmas. And I do like how the film tries to do something different from what they wanted to do something different from the book. Like occasionally, like the Grinch still be his usual self, and they actually kind of changed his character a little bit, and I have to say they did a decent job for trying to change him up a little bit as well. Well, and like I said, the film does still keep its original storytelling of the original book. And I do have to say, the narrator that they choose to do the narration of this film is really jarring. I think the narrator is played by Pharrell Williams, I think. Yeah, that's what I think he kind of sound like. And, like I said, throughout the story, it does handle it well. However, there's one major issue that this movie has, and that is this movie decided to have a subplot. There's a subplot that involves Cindy Lou Who, but we'll get to her later. But I'm just gonna say now, this is subplot that involves about Cindy Lou Who trying to see Santa and trying to give her a wish that she wished that her mom could stop spending more time on her work and start spending time with her and her baby brothers. Now that's one thing I really don't like about the movie trying to have, and that they decide to add stuff to fill in the runtime. And the Cindy Lou subplot really doesn't really need to be in this movie. At least in the live action movie, at least there when Cindy Lou Who has her own sort of a plot in that movie, it makes a little more sense because not only she's the one who tries to find out what Christmas really is, it's also she trying to get Mr. Grinch tries to like Christmas again and let everybody be together at Christmas. That movie handled it a lot better. But when this movie did it with have a subplot involved with Cindy Lou, it doesn't really fit well with the story. And I get they decided to put it because they don't have no else what to do with the Grinch and Max and all that stuff, but I could totally see why. And for the humor in this movie, I will admit, there are some humor that actually does make me laugh. But some of them are a bit predictable. And the way how the satire is with the people interaction with the Grinch around, I will say that there are some things I've got to do mention that still something have a lot to do. I mean, sorry. What I'm trying to say is that I do appreciate what the movie did, what the 2000 movie didn't really have. Like the part with the Who's. At least the Who's in this movie aren't like the Who's from the Jim Carrey one. Because they're not all buzzing around, being all a bunch of little bit of a jerk that always get way too excited for Christmas. They're kind, they're likable, they're nice, and they don't always go running around being really afraid of the Grinch. They just find it as a normal average person, and yet they just don't understand that how he's just his usual grumpy self. And as for the main plot of with the Grinch and his dog Max, some of the stuff these two do throughout the movie are obviously the best part of the movie as so forth. I know some people may have a problem with how that how they focus on the Grinch and Max doing something kind of feels like unneeded. Some parts they don't feel like unneeded, but I don't really don't mind that much. And now it's time to talk about the animation. There's one thing, as this is a Christmas movie, I will say I really do love the animation. I am a huge fan of seeing Christmas settings in animation, and I have to say I give Illumination 5 points for making Whoville look gorgeous. I love how they make everything in Whoville looks beautiful, from its original Christmas colors, the way how the lighting shows whenever it gets dark, or some of the places lighten up. The way how everything else feels so Christmassy. It does give you into the spirits of Christmas a lot. And sorry about that. Like I said, it gets you hooked up for Christmas. And as for the design of the characters, I will say they also way how they designed the characters are really good as well. It's like they took the original illustrations from Dr. Seuss's book and make it to 3D. And the models of these characters does look absolutely standing as well. Like mostly the Grinch, for example. He does look like himself from the original 2D picture, and it does look presentable in 3D. As for the Who design the Who's, well, I have to say they didn't do a good job with the Who's. It seems like they just taken the models designs from the human design of the humans from the Lorax and put them with fur and try to make them look like Who's. They don't even look like Who's in this movie. Like I said before, they just look like what I just mentioned before. At least when Blue Sky did the design of the Who's in Horn Here's a Who, you can actually tell they actually make them look like, well, Who's. But this movie, they didn't even try. And as for the other backgrounds, I really do like the backgrounds as well. Like I said, Whoville looks nice, and everything and all the effects in the snows are pretty good. And speaking of which, the textures are really outstanding as well. Like the fur and some of the Christmas stuff, textures they have around the place. And the ending part where they did some stuff like the Grinch stealing Christmas is also making the animation look fun as well. And now it's time to talk about the characters. First, we have the Grinch himself. To be honestly, the Grinch in this one is okay. I mean, the voice actor who plays him, I forgot his name. I think it's, excuse me, his name is Bennett. I think that's his name is. His way how he portrayed us as Grinch doesn't really fleshed out as well. At least with the Chuck Jones cartoon, you can actually tell the voice actor who plays the Grinch in the animated special. You could tell he actually did a good job trying to impress on the voice. Like he has this really grouchy face, really great grouchy voice. That's how the Grinch actually. That's the way how he actually described to us how the Grinch sounds and the way how he looks. But in this movie, the Grinch is a grouch, but he's also a bit of a straight man as usual. That's one thing I don't want to like as a Grinch, as a way how they describe Grinch as a character, as a straight man. Also, remember in the two live action movie where they show how the Grinch hated Christmas? Well, I will say the way how they show it with this version of how the Grinch hate Christmas, they actually did a lot better than the live action one. Because at least because basically the Grinch is an orphan and he doesn't really celebrate Christmas because he doesn't have a family. It may be simple, but it's in a good way. But in the 2000 movie, it's just so mean-spirited. And I kind of give the universe a little bit. They actually did try to give us a reason how he hates Christmas. But at least this one, but in the 2018 version, they did it a lot better. And as for the other characters, For Max, he is a usual nice kind of a dog, and I will give the movie credit that they actually made Grinch a bit of a nice person. And that's one thing I kind of like what this movie did. They at least they give the Grinch have a little bit of heart. There are some scenes that actually let him do some nice things, like especially does for Max. He doesn't treat Max like garbage and all that stuff. And I really do like that. And then this is Moose reindeer character. I forgot the fat reindeer's name. He is also the comic relief in this movie. He does some humorous stuff. And now it's time to talk about Cindy Lou here. Cindy Lou Who. And my god, I really do not like this Cindy Lou Who. Basically, she just turned her character into, well, any other kid I've seen before any of those movies and cartoon. Like, she has friends. I don't have a problem with that. That's fine. But the way how she performs, how her motivation, the way how her personality is, it doesn't make me feel that interesting. Maybe wants to like her. They just basically try to turn her into something that I do not want to see what Cindy Lou is. In the books, in the special, Cindy Lou is a nice, kind, sweet character. Sure, she doesn't have a personality, but you can tell that she's actually a little bit of kind sweetness. And at least in the 2000 movie, not only she's just young and adorable, but she's also the reason why the Grinch is also let the Grinch become a bit of a nice person. And she's actually the only person in Whoville who tries to show everyone what Christmas really is. This one, not only that she has a stupid plot where she wants her mother to stop avoid work for a little bit, start spending time with her, but also I just really don't like her way how they change her personality a bit. Now, before I get my rating, I will say I do find the ending really, really sweet. It really does kind of melt my heart a bit after watching the ending, where you obviously know what just happened. The Grinch starting to change and realize what Christmas is really about. He delivers a present, and the part where Cindy Lou Who and the rest of the Who's start inviting the Grinch to the Cindy Lou and her mother's Christmas dinner party, it's actually really sweet. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, that's a spoiler. The Cindy Lou Who invite Grinch to her mom's Christmas party, and of course he carved the beast. I know it's not technically a spoilers, but because you kind of know what happens in the book. So yeah, I guess you could say it's kind of a spoiler thing. So yeah, I really do find this ending really, really sweet. It really does kind of melt my heart. And I mentioned before, the part where the Grinch stole the Christmas parts, it's really, really entertaining to see. So in total, I really do like the Grinch Illumination's version of the Grinch. The story may have even though the subplot on the main they have no connection to all, but the way how they tell this story is actually done decently well. The characters are a bit funny and a little bit likable, except for Cindy Lou. The animation is absolutely gorgeous, and the way how they do with the Grinch, my main man, the Grinch, is actually a lot more interesting to watch. And I do say it's a movie I do want to watch it over and over again around Christmas time. But do I find it better than the 2000 Jim Carrey version? It's debatable. I mean, sure, some people might find this better, or just stick to the live action one. But all I say, I still stick to the live action one a lot more. But I do say I really do enjoy this movie, far from it. So yeah, I actually do recommend you guys to watch it. I know this movie may not be in theaters anymore, but you actually will. But I actually do recommend you to go watch it when it came out on DVD, or it might show up on the Fire Stick. So I'm giving the Illuminations 2018 The Grinch movie a 8.5 out of 10, which means it gets the Fireflower medal. Well, thank you all for watching. If you guys seen the Grinch, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next year, known as 2019. Happy holidays and a Merry Christmas to you all, and to all, a good night.